Today, today we are going to look at sixth unit, unit 6, page number 70 in black 2. This is the last lesson. This is about Charles Dickinson novel, Hard Times, page number 70, unit 6. The image I displayed is Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens. Before going to look at him, look at Charles Dickens, we should learn about few things. The time period he belongs to. In your page number 72, 71, 72, 71, and there is a introduction. 70, 71, 72, 73. These four pages, these three pages containing different information related to his time period without mentioning even his name, because this time period is considered as Victorian era. Victorian era. You may have a question in your answers also. You should mention this: the novel time period, and social, political, and cultural background of the novel. What made him, Charles Dickens, to write his novel Hard Times? And what were the social, cultural circumstances and political circumstances? How was the woman? How was the children? How was the teachers? How was the church? How was the state politics? These things are incorporated in Charles Dickens' Hard Times novel. Now, slowly, we look at the basic introduction or background of this novel. The background of this novel is the Victorian era. We are studying Victorian era literature. Within that, Victorian era fiction. This is the novel. So just a few days ago, just a few years ago, there was a new art form of novel revolution started in England with our 4 or 5 famous people. Robinson Crusoe was the novel, and the guy name is Daniel Defoe, Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, W.S. Smollett, Lawrence Sterne. These are the people. They founded the English novel, and based on their novel style, and these people take that novel in the Victorian era to a different level, So that level we are going to study in this unit. If you look at on the page number 71, there's a description of Victorian era, the politics, culture. It is describing here. And this time period is also related to one of the great social revolution called industrialization, socio-economic revolution in England, industrialization that happened during the Victorian era. Victorian period is distinguished by numerous phenomenal social and historical changes that altered the Great Britain in various ways. England witnessed an exponential technological advancement, industrial progress, population explosion, and rapid urbanization during this period, which witnessed the invention of fast railways, telegraphic communications, iron ships, and even photography. It was an epoch of material progress, political reforms, democratic awareness, educational experimentation, humanitarian and empire expansion. These are the key factors of the Victorian era. This time, the science and technology developed, telecommunications were developed, the sea voyages expanded, they discovered new places, and at the same time, the British government expanded its colonial boundaries. They established many colonies across the continents. And that is why there are the new kind of jobs were emerged to work in the East India Company. To work in the East India Company. For example, if you take the India as an example, there are many people required who knows the law, administrators. So new kind of opportunities are created in the government and the society. And at the same time, due to the rapid development of industrialization, middle class is emerged another section, and women also started participating in in production development or in the production area, industrial area. And another important thing here, the technological development, as we have spoken, the science is developing. Slowly it is going against the faith of religion or God, something like that. And the traveling, not only the sea traveling, the sea voyage, there is a railways were developed. Railways were developed. This is a great change in London or England's financial and socio-political development, introducing the railways and introducing the telegraphic communication. And during that time, the photography was developed. Yeah, these are the backgrounds of this time. And another important thing, uh, another important thing you should know about the political side or the social activism or political participation, that government slowly encouraging the people to participate in the public domains and allowing allowing the property allowing the property rights to hold by the women who are married. Earlier they don't have the property holding rights, and this happened due to Women's Property Act in 1882. And another one is important, the Reformation Act. This Reformation Act, it significantly political, religious, and social reforms such as the uh, Reform Act in 1829 that extended suffrage to men with the minimum stipulated property in the Reform Act, and the new poor law that provided the poor with work in exchange for boarding and lodging. This is also very important. Reform Act and new poor law, as well as Married Women's Property Act. These are the major developments and major changes in individual level, because it's focused on the working class, and at the same time, the public has a space to take the decision by transferring their vote in the decision making and electing the government. That is one thing we can see here. And other one is other one is uh, at the same time, the Victoria era is also witnessed the poor become poor, the rich become more rich. This kind of a contradictory era also it witnessed. Geographically, the countryside so far glorified by romantics were mushroomed by industries. The agrarian society was rapidly transforming into modern urban economy. Slowly, the agriculture industries, the agriculture fields are declining, in the sense there are more industries are coming into the rural areas also. So that is why people are quitting this agriculture area, and slowly they're joining in the industries, and slowly they're trying to develop or acclimatize with the urban life. They started to live the urban life, and there is an upward mobility happen during this period of a time. And another important thing here, Victorian period was basically a patriarchal period, as we had discussed in our women's writing. And during the early Victorian period, especially, the elite women were considered as angels at the home. So, Angels at the Home is a poem, and one of the important feminist writer, Virginia Woolf, she attacked that angels in the home, that poem, to start uh, her feminist writing, The Room of One's Own. Yeah, we discussed these things in other subject also. And another thing we should look at here, women were considered as angels of the home and confined to domestic spaces. Industrialization paved way to menial jobs for middle class women in the factories. Professionally, women at best could aspire to become a governess or teacher in wealthy households, as in case of John A. in the John Eyre. Most women, most women dependent on their husbands or fathers financially, and hence the institution of marriage was commercialized. These things as part of the women's literature, uh, but this was a social condition of the woman. And here men were sex centric while women were reproductive centric. The Victorian women, especially middle class, were likely to be ignorant of sex, never talked of such things, and flaunted their ignorance of their own bodies and the body desires or issues. This was about women's condition, and as well as the prostitution also in its high position during the period of time. Hmm. Another thing is that women question. The idea of women question is developed during this period of a time. The repressed recess of a woman consciousness was brought into light. New roles were assigned. Domestic confinement questioned, and their subjugated voice, otherwise unheeded, was given cadence. They questioned the stereotypical roles and duties of women, economic challenges, and even women suffrage. These things from gender perspective, these are the developed, these are the new developments during the period of Victorian era. And the Victorian novel ably traces the mood changes occurring in the British society from romanticism to realism, unbridled liberty to moral restrictions, stoicism to sensibility, optimism to pessimism, and certainty to dilemma. Because this time period, because this time period is a transformation era. Because by the time by the time of Victorian era, before periods, before this 17th century, 16th century, 15th century, these time periods were belonging to different cultures and different social structures. When it comes to the Victorian era, there are the new developments occurred, science and technology wise, traveling wise, the religion point of view, academics wise, and individual point of view. Lots of changes happen. So people are who are transforming from one generation to the another generation. It has given a lot of confliction in their psychological behavior. So that is why this era is also a problematic era, a certainty to dilemma, which what to trust and whether to believe it or not. If we are doing something, is whether it is good or bad, because the individual instinct is forcing to do something, and at the same time, the social structures are not allowing them to do it. So such kind of uncertainty and dilemma was existing during the period of a time. And also this is a lot of sensibility is developed. Optimism to pessimism means there's a, everywhere it is a new boundaries are expanding, new options are generated, but people are uh, people are not sure about which one to take or to lead their life. Such kind of a kind of ambiguous life was existing that period of time. And if we look at the literature and literary point of view, especially during this for this Victorian period, there are a lot of adjectival phrases developed like this: Victorian pessimism, Victorian pessimism, Victorian sensibility, and Victorian dilemma. these kind of words or characterizes this period succinctly, because this is representing, these words are representing, that means, so that period has a lot of impact on the society as well as on the individuals and every aspect of the life. So that is why these phrases were developed. And at the same time, the novel also took a new place. The art form of a novel is also took a new place, and it is reaching its own heights because of the education, because of the middle class, because of the, especially the women's education. There are many women writers writing about themselves, uh, and at the same time they're writing the fiction by creating the women characters, and they're writing for women also. Woman is writing for the woman. Such thing was a great transformation during this period of a time. And another important fact, there was a the Education Act of 1870. Education Act of 1870. This allows the England people or English people, making education accessible to teeming middle class masses, leisure time in the factories, sophistication of press, and increase in publishing houses played a crucial role for the wide circulation and readership of the novel. This is allowing Education Act of 1870. So that is why the Victorian era is very, very important. It has given lot of changes to the individual life and to the individual people, and as well as in a society, as well as in the society, uh, as a representation.
Sir? No voice, sir.
Hello, is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. uh, the art form developed like anything never before, and the style of writing is also changed. New techniques are involved in the writing, and the language is polished, artistically published, presented, and depicting the characters, and most of the times they're representing the realistic characters and realistic situations during this period of a time, especially the Victorian fiction. When we look at them, the things are seems to be the really happened in front of our eyes. Such kind of realistic representation are done in the novels. And the major themes were of this Victorian era novels are, Victorian novels were realistic, densely plotted, populated with numerous characters and were tiresomely lengthy. The characters are very lengthy and the information is very lengthy. There are multiple characters and the plot also very realistic and dense. Victorian novels quintessentially contained moral strain, sentimental in mood, emotionally sensible, passionately charged. Look at these words. These words are there on page number 73, second paragraph. Page number 73, second paragraph. The features or the themes of the novels, if you look at it. Features or themes of the novels. There will be a question because Victorian era and is a very important one in literature. Look at this paragraph, second paragraph. And emotionally sensible, passionately charged, intellectually drab, utilitarian in worldview, and protagonist in their discourse. The people are becoming up with all sort of very intensive characters, and instinctively, intensively, they are speaking about themselves. The writers also felt these incidents intensively they feel it and they depict it like a word picture in their novels. So such kind of a word picture is our hard times, written by Charles Dickens. Yeah. And another argument, Victorians defied aesthetic approach, art for art's sake, of literature, and a moral lesson or a thesis was the crux of the literary writings this period of time. Novel was an apt from to depict the quotidian ordeal. The characters were well rounded and depicted middle class men struggling hard to create a niche for themselves in the materialist industrialist society. These are the themes of themes and features of the Victorian era novels. And below that, there are the different kind of authors belonging to this area, Victorian period. Charles Dickinson and Emily and Charlotte Bronte, Robert Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Lewis Carroll, Robert Louis Stevenson, uh, Alfred Lord Tennyson, William Makepeace Thackeray, and Anthony Trollope and Oscar Wilde. These are the people. These are the people uh, who contributed a lot of literature during that period of time. This is about the background of the Victorian era. Now we are looking at this person, Charles Dickinson. Is the author of our present novel, Hard Times. Uh, this man is a journalist. This man is a journalist. On page number 74, his biography is available. On page number 74, 6.2, Charles Dickens, a great Victorian novelist, but Dickinson was born on 7 February 1812, during the period when uh, George, when George was ruling there. For and this man, in his childhood, he did not witness any sort of developments like the telecommunications and railways, this new development of a science and technology. Of course, before he saw this printing press revolution and all, but this rapid urbanization, rapid industrialization, he did not witness in his childhood. The way he is growing, the way he is growing older, the way he is growing into the Middle Ages, same as the Victorian society is also growing on the other side, like the industrialization, development of railways, development of telecommunications, development of new employment sources, and new acts, especially new government acts to lucid or to allow the people to participate or access a uh, different kind of things. Such things were slowly emerged the way he is also growing up, and the way he saw the social life is completely different when he saw them in his middle life. Dickinson Dickens was very sensitive to the political, social developments around him, and his novels picturesquely documented these transformations. So that is his specialty. He picturesquely documented each and everything, especially the social and political developments and its transformations. During the transformation time, the conflict the people went through, the society went through, such things are very clearly depicted, represented through his characters in his novel. And he witnessed the rapid industrialization and thereby urbanization and England colonial expansion. These three things are very important: England colonial expansion and rapid industrialization, urbanization. Because urbanization, slowly the rural countrysides are are declining its identity, and the new urbanization, because of the industrialization, new cities were emerged. New cities were emerged, and the cities also expanded into the suburb areas. So this is what he saw in his time, and he is known for a word is called clutching eye. Clutching eye means he has a very acute sense of observing the things, and not only just observing, whatever he observed, that he can express in the form of a sketches and the writings. That is his specialty. By profession, he is a journalist. So on his profession, he traveled extensively the every nook and corner of the city, and especially the working class people were there and their struggles. He closely witnessed them. He closely saw them and written in his novels. And Dickinson attacked every political and social, economical, and even religious institutions for its vices, and harbingered reforms whatever possible. His writings impacted policies, sensitized peoples of the evils in the society, and changed their opinions. He is a he is a change maker. He is a change maker through his novels and through his characters. And other thing, Dickinson later works akin to other works of this period seem to be more pessimistic and suspicious of the reforms of the ills in the society. Yeah, these things you can read in his biography. His long solitary walk during nights in the most secluded and ignored slums, his deep interest in social problem and ills. Ills means the bad things, the social evils. Ills, his frequent visits to prisons, asylums, schools, and other public institutions, and his extensive travel while working as a journalist enabled him to write some short fictional sketches dealing with the real life of London, particularly of the London's poor and the working class. So such things give a wide range of wide range of experiences uh, he collected and documented in the novel. And now we are looking. This is the background of Charles Dickinson, and now we are looking at the novel, the present novel, Hard Time, and Charles Dickens' Hard Times. This is the novel. This novel into three books. This is there on the page number 75. Page number 75. It's about the hard times, an overview and a critical summary and commentary. It is there. Hard Times, the novel name is. And first, earlier, Hard Times for These Times. Hard Times is the novel name, and For These Times is a subtitle of the novel. Subtitle of the novel. Earlier, this novel was published as a serial in a weekly periodical. It's called Household Words. Household Words. This is the background of novel, and this novel setting is a fictional setting of Coke Town, a prototype of emergent industrial towns. The novel is a critic of the then industrial and economic conditions which resulted in severe social inequality. Severe social inequality. This novel is is criticizing and questioning the developments and of the industrial revolution and the economic conditions of the capitalists and working class people, which lead the society into a social inequality. These things he talked about it. It's a fictional town, prototype time. That means it's a model town, and that is representing the new urban areas, new urbanization. So this was background. And his three books of this novel is divided into three books. Each book has a name. The book one is the sowing. Book two is the reaping, and book three is gardening. Sowing, reaping, garnering. Three names. Remember these three names. These three names has a particular purpose and particular meaning. And you can read the summary. You can read the summary in the 6.4, 6.3 to 6.4. You can get the commentary here. The main theme of this novel is education. Main theme of the novel is education, because during the period of a time, two important things were there. Please, you remember all this. I'm frequently mentioning the same things: the industrialization, rise of middle class, the working class people problems, and the women education. Women are accessing because of there is a new education act in the 1870. Sometimes there was a new education act that allowed the people to access the education and adult suffrage. These things, when they're made, when there are many people come to study in the schools and the universities, there is a question of curriculum, there is a question of education, there is a question of teachers, what kind of teaching they're doing it, and what kind of culture, what is curriculum syllabus they're using to teach them, and what kind of methodologies they're practicing in the schools to teach the students and to make a bright England society. Such things he is questioning in this novel. The basic and main theme of this novel is education. Here the education is the protagonist names. There are the many characters. These characters names you can see here in the page number 75. The person name is Great Green, GRAD, Great Green. And this Great Grant is a man of utilitarian philosophy of facts. Utilitarian philosophy of fact. This is talking about education of the head and education of the heart. Education of the head and education of the heart. Hmm. Like in other way, knowledge of head and knowledge of heart. So these are the words. These are the words they used it. Knowledge of heart and knowledge of head. When you are writing the answers, please mention these things. But this person is believes the great grind is a man of utilitarian philosophy of facts, is a teacher. He believes only the facts can help us. Whatever the emotional morality, this doesn't help in a human being or in the society. Only the facts and the information, the science and technology, only these things will help to build a career. Such kind of practical oriented approach he is believing, and he is imposing on the students, especially on the students in the school, and on his children also. He wanted to brought up them brought up them by imposing these ideas on the children. But unfortunately, his ideas were the failed ideas. His philosophy is a failed philosophy. He doesn't meet what he expected to meet in his life or in his children's life. So that is the basic idea of the novel. There he believes everything should be practical. The knowledge which doesn't have a practical approach, there is no useful. When you look at the literature, It talks about the imagination, beautiful things, and emotions, imagination, emotions, feelings, the moral ethics. Such things are very important for an individual being, for an individual person, and for a well-being. But he ignored that. This man ignored that, and he is focusing only on the practical philosophy and the practical approach, facts-based approach. This facts-based approach did not give did not give much results, and especially in his children's case, he failed. They suffered a lot during their lifetime, and slowly he believed that knowledge of head to knowledge of heart is very, very important. The knowledge of heart is containing the emotions, feelings, moral and ethics. Those also very, very important along with the facts. But earlier he believed only the practical way of approach. And during his course of life, and during his children's course of life, he realized such thing. His opinion was very much wrong, and he looked for a new concepts of the teaching. So this is the main idea of our writer, Charles Dickens, because he's close observant of the schools and their teaching methodologies, teaching curriculum, and the syllabus, the way they are teaching. One fine day, end of the day or end of the education, just they merely left as just ordinary individuals who did not have a respect of anything except on their activities. Such kind of things were happened. So this is a very bad thing for a society. So he wanted to stop it, and he wanted to show the shallowness of this education system through his characters and through the situations which he observed in his lifetime. The things were documented here, and there is a read the commentary, especially read the commentary. Read the commentary on the page number 76, 77, 78. The useful knowledge, especially for the facts he has given, the useful knowledge, and another thing we should talk about here. These people are the way you should talk to. These people are after the education or after the graduation, after leaving the school. These people are uh, being and becoming the mechanicals, being and becoming mechanicals without having the emotions and feelings. So such kind of production houses, he used these words. These are the schools are the factories. The schools are the factories producing the machines, and these people are working like the machines. They're coming out from the schools like the machines. The machines only know the work, only know the facts, only they can do on the practical base. But in real life, for an individual, this is not a good thing without having the feelings and emotions, passions. Yeah, this is what he discussed here. And now we look at the important one, and look at the characters also. Look at the characters also. There are the characters visible here, where in the page number, yeah, page number 75, the book 1, book 2, book 3. There you can get the characters, his children name, Losia and Tom, Losia and Tom, and another character names are the Mr. Bounderby, Mr. Blackfool. Um, these characters are Mr. Hot, Mr. Hot House, Blitzer. These are the characters, important characters in this novel. The themes and issues that dealing with the novel is the education, as we have talked, wisdom of the head versus wisdom of heart. This is there on the page number 81. Wisdom of head versus wisdom of heart, which is important. Of course, both are important, but in a combining way, in a blended manner. in a blended manner. But the protagonist is only believing the wisdom of head is important. Wisdom of head is important. When the heart comes, emotions and feelings, passions, compassions will come, and that will corrupt the head. That will corrupt the practical approach. The practical approach will help the people to gain something. That was his strong belief and opinion. This philosophy he wanted to instill in the students as well as in the children. But later, when his children encounter different life struggles, when they lose their morals, when they are not able to express themselves properly, when they have some feelings, when they have some passions, that feelings and passions they were not able to convey to others, that time he saw their struggles and their pain. Slowly, he realized what the philosophy was wrong. We should have the emotions and feelings. The education or wisdom of the heart is very, very important rather than the uh, wisdom of the head. This is, he believed in it. And another important thing here we should learn, Dickens is also critical of the teacher training and teacher education. Dickinson metaphor of teacher education colleges as factories. He used the word factories for the college education and the teachers. And the process of teacher training as an industrial procedure serve as a mechanical system which produces mechanical and heartless teachers. This is what he mentioned he, through his criticism. And another important theme is that industrialism, capitalists works workers, capitalists versus workers, or capitalists and workers. The capitalists are the owners of the factories and the workers of the working class people. They were exploiting like anything, and they did not give any respect to the workers. These workers are spent their whole lifetime by serving to their masters or the boss, but the capitalists are enjoying the fruits of their our company or the products, and they are leading a successful life. And this shows the subplot of this novel. I will discussing about the factory system, especially the factory system, and and their struggles, and we can call this novel is also a industrial novel, because it is also dealing with the industries, capitalists and working class people, their problems, and the behavior with the capitalists. Such things were mentioned, how the skilled laborer exploited exploited by their masters is discussing in this novel. uh, when you look at here, another important marriage and divorce is another theme. You may have a question like the what are the themes of Charles Dickens in hard times, and what is the summary of what is the summary of this novel, hard times novel. And they may ask you, so what are the features of Victorian era that this man belongs to? What are the major developments of the Victorian era? These are maybe your questions in your examination. So such things I discussed already. Yeah, marriage and divorce is one among the other things. Here, uh, yeah, this novel is carrying uh, plot, structure, and characterization. Plot, structure, and characterization. This is a important element of a novel. We have discussed in other class the what are the elements of a novel in yesterday's class. I think day before yesterday's class, the main elements of a novel. This novel followed everything, and style and language is also important because the names itself, sowing, raping, and garnering. He used these words for a specific purpose to show us, and the chimneys, especially the chimneys, the image of the chimney on the factory. roof chimneys or the factory roof. This will tell us how the children were being exploited, how the working class people were exploited in cleaning the chimneys. The chimney is a symbol or image of a industrialization or a industry. This is how he used these images and symbols. The coke town itself is a symbol of the upcoming urban towns or urbanization. Um, Here, the word coke means a black substance produced from a coal which is burned to provide heat. Coke was an important means of energy for factories. At another level, coke being a hard and rigid substance signifies the principles and values of the inhabitants of the town. The name itself representing some important thing. Coke town. Coke town is a fictitious town, prototype town, a urban town, prototype urban town. So that means it's going to be a model town. So in all the characters, even including the names, the character names, the town names, the places names, are representing something. So that is the speciality of this novel, and that is the speciality of Charles Dickens, usage of language, uses of his own language. Especially the smoke in the chimneys, the smoke reflects her indecisive thoughts and perhaps conveys uh, her burning of herself for the sake of Tom. This is talking about her children, how their children are represented or conveyed their feelings through the symbols and images. It is there on the page number 83. This is about the unit 6. Now I am moving to unit 7. Unit 7. Uh, in this unit 7, the 20th century fiction modernist novel. Unit 7. This is another black 20th century fiction and modernist novel. This period is different from the Victorian era. Now, when we come here, we are entering into the 20th century. So, during the Victorian era, the 19th century, that time, the social conditions were different. The time period was a social transformation, and colonial boundaries are expanded, and the technology was invented, transports were established. These things were the specialities of the Victorian era. But when it comes to the modernist era, that means the early 20th century, especially that 40 years of the First World War, that period of a time, that period is very, very important because that brought new dimensions and new aspects and new perspectives in writing the novels and depicting the characters and establishing the identities and exploring the ideas are very, very important, especially at this period of the modernism in the early 20th century. The modernism, the definition itself, keep on changes. There is no particular definition. There is no particular definitions. If one definition is against another definition, so that is why to coin what is modernism is a very, very difficult task. Such things were discussed in the unit 7. It's in the page number 89. The page number 89. Is my voice audible? Please respond someone. Is my voice
Yes,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
It's
sir.
clear and audible also, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are following you.
Yeah. This is a very huge lesson, very big one. It's around 21 pages. Around 21 pages. Uh, because it discussed many things, many characters. As I have told you, the fill in the blanks and match the following, whatever are there, just read them from and same as this unit has. such kind of questionnaire. Fill in the blanks or match the following. They are very, very important. We'll get the answers. Now we'll look at what is modernism, and features of modernism, features of the modernism or characteristics of the modernism, and especially the mind in the early 20th century. The mind plays a key role. That means the psychology plays a key role. Psychology plays a key role. The psychology plays a key role in writing also. The behavioral patterns, the mood swings, introverts, extroverts, traveling within himself or herself. Such things are uh, are expressed in a systematic way, especially in the novels of this early 20th century, whatever the name we called as modernism, such things. And this conflictional modernism, the women modernists, the women writers who are considering them as a modern writers, and European writers, and at the same time, the French influence on the idea of the modern novel, French influence, because the French was a cultural hub during those days. It was a cultural hub, so it has a lot of impact on many art forms. The French has a lot of impact in every art form, especially in that European area. Such things we are going to discuss in this unit. Yeah, defining modernism as on the is there on the page number 89. They discussed here the difficulty we face in fixing the definition. The periodization of modernism is also faced in defining who are modernist novelists, and some of the questions that we face are: did Thomas Hardy in some ways anticipate modernism? Does the naturalism of George Gissing belong to the modernist project? Were the H.G. Wells or E.M. Foster modern or modernist? These questions it raised because there is no standard definition of this modernism. If you look at it, the defining modernist literature is quite difficult, and because there are different and sometimes opposing definitions. But the first guy, the Andrich Gesoric, tries to define it as it should surely be clear by now that modernism is a portmanteau concept which comprises a variety of often mutually incompatible trajectories. This was the definition is first given by that Andrich Gesoric. It is there on the page number 89. What he says, uh, the comprises a variety of often mutually incompatible trajectories. These things we are going to look in other pages. Yeah, there are on the page number 90 and 91. If you look at, uh, many critics look at modernism as a process of change and development rather than an evolution upwards towards an achieved end from which there is then a falling way. We need this understanding if we are genuinely to see modernism as a dynamic movement and appreciate the simple fact that individual writers, James Joyce and Virginia Woolf, became more modernist, along with the more complex fact that a more modernist text by Henry James or Joseph Conrad, for example, might have appeared before the early less modernist Joyce or Woolf. Yeah, this says the development of the idea of the modernism, whether these people are achieved or not, but it is a process of change and development. The modernism means it's a process of change and development. It evolution rather than an evolution upwards Generally, an upward evolution means it moves further. But here, it goes in a different way. It goes in a different way, multi-dimensional ways rather than going upward. And other thing here, the aesthetic senses. The in other paragraphs you can see that the who are the authors who started writing in this genre, the modernist genre, are representing and reflecting their characters with these modernist ideas. That is what mentioned in the another paragraphs. Uh, Another important thing here, the novel in 20th century, novel in 20th century. The majority of novelists and their novels it discussed, especially the H.G. Wells, Arnold Bennett, John Galsworthy, Joseph Conrad, D.H. Lawrence, Aldous Huxley, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf. These people, novels and their themes were discussed in the page number 90 and 91. And the types of novels in other class we discussed, but here the themes and the novel impact of the novel uh, uh, is being discussed in this unit on page number 91. If you look at this art form of the novel, art form of the novel, that means the 20th century novelists have laid great stress on the art form of the novel. They have shown great consciousness of form. A form is the structure, the idea, how it is forming. That's what they discussed in this novel as an art form. And they're trying to give a new shape or new form to the existing art of novel writing here. And another one is novel of ideas. Another one is novel of ideas. In the first decade of 20th century, the novel was mainly confined to the discussion of the problems confronting us in the social life. The Edwardian novel was essentially a novel of ideas, including in its scope a free discussion of all kinds of ideas, scientific, social, political, industrial, and so forth. So these are the new ideas the novels were discussing. If we look at the earlier novels, Robinson Crusoe, it was just documenting the facts of his journey. When we look at Henry Fielding, he is satiring the society. He wrote in a parody way, he is attacking the social evils and social sentiments, prejudices, such things he was talking about it. The Pamela novel, for example, Samuel Richardson, the Pamela novel, that is talking about like a instructional manual, a educational manual, focusing of a particular gender and what to follow in the society and practice in the society. But when it comes to the later, the 20th century, it gives lot of ideas because of the Victorian era witnessed lot of technologies, new political laws, and the urbanization, industrialization. Based on that, there is a new lifestyle emerged. That new lifestyle, uh, the emergence of new lifestyle has given new ideas. These new ideas are captured during this early 20th century in the novels. So that is why this period is also called as a novel of ideas. For example, the H.G. Wells Time Machine. H.G. Wells Time Machine. That's a scientific novel. Uh, Here, a novel is in essence a discursive thing, a waxen tapestry of multifarious interests sufficiently elastic in form to take the whole of life within its compass, business, finance, and politics, till it becomes a proper medium for canvassing all social and political problems as they are. So this is how they have given, especially the H.G. Wells given the 20th century characteristic of the novel in this format, and this is there in the novel of ideas. And another one is sex and primal human emotions. Sex and primal human emotions. These things, the idea of sex and interaction with the people, physical pleasures, were vividly described in the name of the freedom, in the name of the freedom of speech or identity or the inner feeling. During the modernist period, a new tendency began to be perceptible in English fiction, and it centered around the glorification of sex and primal human emotions and the passions. The Victorian novelists and poets had frowned on the naked dance of sex in their works and exalted married love over illegal uh, flirtation. Such things were there in the novels, and especially these characters, D.H. Lawrence, Aldous Huxley, Somerset Maugham, James Joyce. The novels is one of his letters, or else Lady Chatterley's lover, Point Counterpoint. These are the novels that depicted the sexual life in a extensively they discussed here. Yeah, you can read all these things for your examination point of view. And another important thing is that there's a major development of psychological fiction. Psychological fiction, due to the influence of the Sigmund Freud interpretation of dreams, that was a great revolution. And introducing the idea of Oedipus complex and Electro complex, such things. Those are the very unconventional ideas they launched in the intellectual forums. And in this especially this era, a new technique was developed in the psychological fiction. The new trend found its best exposition in the stream of consciousness. Remember, friends, and this question compulsory comes, or this idea is compulsory comes, a stream of consciousness, which was cultivated in all its complexity by William James, Dorothy Richardson, and James Joyce and Virginia Woolf. These four people are very, very important for the psychological fiction. James Joyce, Dorothy Richardson, William James, and Virginia Woolf. In the new technique of the stream of consciousness, extreme emphasis is laid on the subjectivism and the passive states of mind. Transitions are sudden and progression is hampered, because the stream of consciousness is a very simple way. When we talk, when we think, or when we are here, our mind our mind moves many places. One time in the textbook, one time on the video, one time our day-to-day life activities, or one time in the past memories, or the future ambition or activities. Something it moves here and there, like anything, without having any control. So, in that same as how our mind moves, our thought moves, irrespective of the places, irrespective of the time periods. Same as the novel also written in that format, like our thoughts, like our thoughts. One event starts here, one event starts in some other place. Suddenly, it keep on changes. Suddenly, it changes the events and the incidents. So that is the speciality of the stream of consciousness. The way we think, in a different levels. Hello. Yeah, that is one idea of the stream of consciousness. And in this, you should remember James Joyce Ulysses is a stream of consciousness novel. Another one, yeah, the stream of consciousness fiction is written here on the page number 92. The basic technique employed in presenting the thoughts and reflections of mind. Yeah, this is a idea of a stream of consciousness. A stream of consciousness is a technique. Is a technique. And Mrs. Dalloway, tomorrow we are going to study this novel, Mrs. Dalloway. Okay. Yeah.
Sir, please give me a psychological fiction example.
Psychological fiction example. Yeah, this same thing, Sama. Mrs. Dalloway, James Joyce Ulysses, James Joyce Ulysses. James Joyce Ulysses, and the Pilgrimage. Pilgrimage. These are the psychological fictions, and another one is the science fiction and detective fiction. Science fictions, the Time Machine, especially H.G. Wells' Time Machine. In Telugu, like the Aditya 369 movie, H.G. Wells' Time Machine, and Invisible Man. Other one, all the Huxley's The Brave New World, and especially in this area on page number 93, you have 13. You have 13 fill in the blanks. These are very, very important. Very, very important. Fill in the blanks.
Thank you,
And
sir.
please look at them. Page number 93. The influence of the French influence on a modern novel. Please look at on the page number 94. Page number 94. See, looking into the mind, there is a concept called on the page number 95. Looking into the mind is nothing but the psychological and a stream of consciousness. Remember, psychological and stream of consciousness, especially Henry James in his book of Principles of Psychology. It's called mind wandering. Mind wandering is a concept that describes the mental state in which we open ourselves up to the swarm of sense of data bombarding consciousness at any given moment. Mind wandering. This is Henry James concept. Mind wandering. Yeah. On page number 97, page number 97, if you look at in the second paragraph, the stream of consciousness yes, novel is based on the ideas regarding psychological time given by Bergson. And 1, 2, these two paragraphs are important for stream of consciousness. Yeah, experiments. Another concept is experiments with language and style in modernist novel. You can take the example of Ulysses, James Joyce, the stream of consciousness novel, because they are interrelated. The titles may be different, they are the interrelated. Here, a study of James Joyce, Ulysses novel. We talk about it, Ulysses novel, and conflictional modernism, a study of D.H. Lawrence. Here, on the page number 100, second paragraph. Second paragraph, third paragraph. Second, third, and fourth. These three paragraphs are important when it comes to the D.H. Lawrence. D.H. Lawrence. And on page number 101, you have this fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. Now, yeah, these are the three women writers. We'll discuss tomorrow because they are sending messages. Our class time is over.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you.